Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending today's training session. Portfolio for the Strategic Outreach and Communications Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. I have with me today my colleague, Mrs. Wendy Bray. And for your awareness, this training is being recorded. A copy of this presentation will be provided to you as well as the recording. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. All questions that you have, please place them in the Q&A box. Throughout this presentation, me and my colleague will be assisting with answering your questions. So please put them in the Q&A box and not the chat function. During the chat function, this is a chance for you guys to network, talk amongst each other as far as spreading any information that you may have to help each one of you become successful within the procurement process. So please feel free to use the chat to network and communicate with each other. The VA's mission statement is clear: to fulfill President Lincoln's promise to care for those who have served our nation's military and for their families, caregivers, and survivors. Further, the Strategic Outreach and Communication Statement directly ties into the VA's 5 core values, in that the veterans and small businesses have earned our respect. So we strive to do everything with integrity and excellence, and we are committed to advocacy for small businesses through awareness of VA small business programs and their resources. Today, I will be joined by Mrs. Lisa Wood. Mrs. Lisa Wood is the statewide director of the Virginia Procurement Technical Assistance Center, hosted by George Mason University, before joining the PTAC community. Lisa was a procurement specialist for Bechtel Plant Machinery Incorporated in the greater Pittsburgh area. In this role, she performed contract administration and negotiation duties. She also recommended bidders, handled issues inquiries, negotiated bids, performed cost and price analysis, and prepared comprehensive letters to justify recommended contract actions. Ms. Woods holds an MBA from the University of New Haven and is also an adjunct professor of management at George Mason University. I would like to welcome Mrs. Woods. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, Curtis, for the kind introduction. May I share my screen now?
Yes.
And how does that look?
Looks good. I can see it.
Okay, great. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. So one thing I want to talk about before we start the program is the PTAC has now been rebranded under the Department of Defense as Apex Accelerators. So I've included our new branding and logo elements so that you can start associating PTAC with Apex Accelerator. So if you hear Apex Accelerator, know that it is still your friendly PTAC, here to help you grow your business and understand government contracting. So we're going to go over capability statements today, and that is like my favorite subject to teach. This document has been mentioned numerous times in your government contracting area of influence. So everyone's always saying you got to have a capability statement. So for those of you who do not have a capability statement, this is a great opportunity to learn how to create one and how to use it. So buyers expect to see a capability statement and will often email you and request one if they're interested in you. You need to be prepared to send them your capability statement as soon as it's requested. We do have editable templates and go-bys for you to use if needed. We also specialize in helping you create your capability statement. This is the most important document for you to have if you wish to engage in government contracting. So even if you already have one, hopefully this presentation will help you refine it. Because believe me, I go through dozens of these every week, And very rarely do I get one and say, yay, you're good to go. You did it all right. Move forward with contracting with the government. So today, our agenda, we're going to go through the different types of capability statements, and then we'll go into how to build one. Then we're going to talk a little bit about capability briefs because some people don't understand the difference between the two. So here's some uses for your capability statement. Your capability statement should be fluid and easily edited to adapt to the situation in which you will present it. Some capability statements are more general and others more in-depth, depending on the situation. So you will use it as a marketing tool. It's just almost like your business's business card to the government. It helps you get meetings and request meetings when you reach out to small business offices. It's also part of sources sought, requests for information responses in SAM. And we'll get into that. I'll show you how they actually ask for those. It's often required in an RFP. So you probably won't be sending your actual capability statement that you've prepared in these situations, but the information that you've acquired and consolidated on there will be requested, and you just transfer it over into that request. It's also the framework for capability brief. So as a marketing tool, you're going to use this as a handout at events such as matchmakers and industry days. And there's many of those coming up. You're going to see a lot of industry days going on and matchmakers. So just check calendars and websites and go to many of these as you can. It's also sent email as an introduction to small business liaison officers, which I will refer to as SBLOs moving forward. So when you send that letter of introduction or email of introduction to a small business office, make sure it's short, succinct, to the point, and you attach your capability statement. Make sure you're not sending a general capability statement in a situation like that. And we'll go into that as well later on. It's used for follow-up contact. So after a matchmaker, when you go back home, you're going to come up with a plan to follow up with the people you spoke with by sending them your capability statement. We'll say on a quarterly basis, because your capability statement is always changing. It's always improving and being revised, and you're adding NAICS or taking NAICS or adding certifications. So you will always use that as your follow-up. It's also included as a link on your website. So you will link your capability statement, your general one, to your website. So when they're researching you deeper, they can print your capability statement right off of your website and take it to decision makers. So to obtain decision maker meetings, you will customize your capability statement for specific purposes. So if you want to target somebody, we'll say GDIT, and you're emailing them and you're going to ask for a meeting or request a capability brief, you will send them a capability statement designed just for them. The relevant information needs to be specific to the needs of that customer. You're not going to give them anything but what their needs are. So that's going to take a lot of research and due diligence. And believe me, they can tell when they get a capability statement if that person knows what they're about. You need to know their vision, their mission, what they're forecasting, what they've done in the past, what they might do in the future, who they've done business with. You need to immerse yourself in them and become a subject matter expert. Believe me, they really appreciate that. So just because you've got a really great capability statement, that doesn't mean that you send it out to every email address you can find for small business offices in the federal government. That approach does not work. You are asking for it to get deleted or tossed. So just make sure you are creating a specifically designed capability statement when you are sending it to one particular customer. You need to show them beyond a shadow of a doubt, you can help them solve their problems. You can be that trusted vendor. So Sources sought and requests for information. They're going to ask for this information when they go out, and hopefully you are all going after sources sought and requests for information, because that's how set-asides get created. If you're not responding to them, you're missing out on a lot of opportunity. This is a handshake with the government. So this helps demonstrate what your capacity and capability is, which is basically what the capability statement does. Also addresses your technical knowledge, your team. Who have you surrounded yourself with? Perhaps you're subbing to somebody that helps fill in the gaps of things you don't do. It goes beyond a shadow of the doubt, showing you are responsible and responsive. Those are two of the most important words in government contracting, because that buyer needs to know you are responsible and responsive. That's what they look for, and that's how they award, based on those two words. Also, past performance. Make sure your past performance clearly shows that you have capacity and capability and that you're responsible, responsive. And very last, socioeconomic standing. So socioeconomic standing is great. You're an 8A, you're a hub zone, service disabled veteran, but it's not the most important thing on your capability statement. Yes, you're going to talk about it. It's going to be on there, but you have to show you can do the work first. You sell yourself first and your value, and then you ice it with the socioeconomic certification. So this is pulled directly off of a sources sought. The language clearly shows: submit a capability statement that succinctly addresses the following items to demonstrate the contractor's capability to perform the requirements of the draft scope of work. Technical ability, contractor's capacity, amount of equipment or facilities, size of staff. These are all things that are being called out in a sources sought. Your capability statement needs to show these items. This is, when I found this, I was excited because it clearly shows what they're looking for in that capability statement. Not fancy logos, not pictures pulled off of Google Images, just the nuts and bolts of who you are and what you're about. So in an RFP, I pulled this directly out of a request for a proposal. And offers shall demonstrate their organization has the experience and capabilities to meet the requirements laid out in the statement of work. That is where they're going to ask for your capabilities, and you're going to pull that right off your capability statement. They won't necessarily ask for the capability statement, but they're going to ask for the information you have included on there. They will tell you specifically what they want to see. It's going to make a huge difference in how they look at you in your response. So how do you build that effective capability statement? This is the template that we use. It's one, we have different formats and colors, but the basics are here. I don't care where you put it on the statement. Just make sure you have these categories: core competencies, differentiators, past performance, company data, and you call it a capability statement. You can jazz it up all you want within reason, but keep it to one page and make sure that you go through this and you follow the instructions. You give those people exactly what they're looking for, nothing more, nothing less. Keep it simple. So people reading the capability statement have a need for high value content. So they'll be visually scanning the document to look for keywords. Do not use trade jargon. The buyer may not understand your trade language. So the capability statement as if the person knows nothing about your industry. And please title it as a capability statement. Don't get fancy. Don't be calling it capacity statement or line card. You know, I've seen a lot of different versions of the word capability statement. Don't do that. Just call it a capability statement. And make sure you're showing your branding and logo elements because these are saved. Most buyers will keep a library of capability statements that they can refer to when they're doing their market research. So just make sure that you have your branding and logo element there because they will remember that over your name. And that's why it's so important to have your branding consistent on your website, your business cards, and your capability statement, because they might recognize your logo before they recognize your name. And then customize it. I cannot stress this enough. So contracting officers have a very high regard for businesses who do their homework and take the time to research the agency in which they're marketing themselves to. It shows you have interest in their needs and solutions to their problems. This is a way to customize. Now's the time to impress them with your knowledge of their organization. And believe me, they can tell. You just don't sit down with somebody at a matchmaking event and not know anything about what they do. You are not going to earn their respect that way, but you will earn their respect and you will have more credibility if they can tell you know everything there is to know about them. So keep it to one page. Some people can do front and back, but how are you going to send that? You have to end up sending it as 2 pages to capture the front and the back. I have seen winning capability statements very easily formatted onto the front page of one paper. It must be specifically related to a target agency. So if you're sending it to GDIT, say capability statement prepared for GDIT. That if they never see that, that will blow them away. But you're also going to have your general capability statement that is for anybody to see. It shows everything you do, but the customized one is only going to show what you do that is of interest to the person that you're handing that into. Keep your graphics simple. They don't care about the graphics. That is meaningless to them. All they want to know is, can you do the work on time and within budget and technical spec? Make sure it's easily sent as a PDF. Don't send a Word document, send it as a PDF. And of course, have that branding and logo element in it. Keep these content labels, do not deviate. This is what they look for. And if they have to search your capability statement for the information that they need, they're going to not do it. They are going to toss it. If it's too much work, they are not going to use it. So tell them exactly the information that they're looking for using these labels. They're going to go straight to core competencies to see what you do, past performance to see who you did it for, differentiators, how you are different from your competition, and then your corporate identification and the information that's also useful, like your socioeconomic certification, NICS, PSC codes, your social media, your website. So those type of things, those come later, but the core and heart of the capability statement, core competencies, past performance, and differentiators. So core competencies, it's a short introduction statement telling them about your business and then bullet points for your core competencies. And remember, if you're customizing, this is not everything you do, but your core expertise of your firm, especially to the ones that are relevant to the person you're handing it into. So keep it to a very simple model. Now, when it's your general, yeah, have at it. You can say everything you do. But if you're taking this to a capability statement review or to a matchmaker, you want to make sure that it's customized, just relevant to their needs. So here's an example, pulled off of one of my clients' capability statements. It has a brief sentence about what they do. You'll notice that there is no fancy language here, no best in class, pleased to serve, state of the art, combined years of experience, none of that, because all of that is meaningless. It just states what they do. And then their core competencies. Just what they do. Very simple, to the point, no definitions, just bullets of their core competencies. Really, keep it simple. Past performance is the gold standard in contracting. So make sure it is detailed and relevant. This is similar to giving a reference on a resume. So the information you provide, the better it looks. Make sure you give the name of the person you dealt with, their contact information, a brief scope of work, and the dollar value of the award. If you're working on a blanket purchase agreement or a long-term service agreement, have an open PO, say that it includes an annual invoice amount. Just state that what it is and make sure the past performance is relevant to what that buyer is seeking. So on your general capability statement, you can list past performance in several areas of what you do. But if you're handing it in to somebody like at a matchmaking event, that past performance is going to be relevant to what they're looking for. So recently I did a search for a machine shop that did Xylon 1010 metal coating. This was for a major prime. They asked me to find them. So when I reached out to the machine shops, I asked for their capability statement and I said, just show the past performance of when you did the Xylon 1010 metal coating and who you did it for and when and what was the scope. So they gave me their customized capability statements listing only that. And they were brought in to that prime's supplier base based on that. I mean, it's simple. It's a simple formula. Give them exactly what it is they're looking for, and you will be rewarded. So do include your commercial work. Don't think that past performance has to be federal government. It can be state, local, commercial, non-public, just open. Where you did work for somebody, it wasn't governmental, there was no NAICS code, and you got to put that in there and put in the contact information, because if you're giving a reference on your resume, you actually give the person's name and phone number. Just make sure they know that you've done this, that they'll back you up. Hey, may I use your name and contact information for my past performance on my capability statement? They might say, no, instead of me, why don't you use our small business office? No one ever wants to be blindsided by being contacted by somebody to ask for a reference. They need to know that you've put them out there. It also goes with your past performance on the dynamic small business search. You want to put the same information there, but always ask their permission first. So this is an example. So if you were a prime and the customer was Homeland Security, you are going to state that you were a prime to Homeland Security, and you're going to talk about what services you provided, the dates, the name of the contract vehicle was firm fixed price or time and materials, whatever it was, the amount, and the contact name. So it's very simple. This is not hard to do. It's just simple and to the point. So if you are a sub, you're going to state the customer, but you're also going to add, I was a subcontractor to, and list the prime you sub to, and then give the same information. The service you provided to the prime, who in turn had the privity of contract with the federal agency. And if you're an employee, some people say, hey, Lisa, I don't have past performance with my business, but boy, I did a lot of work when I worked for an organization. And how do I show that? So yeah, it doesn't carry the same weight, but it's something. So at Department of Homeland Security, and you are an employee of, and list them, whether they were a sub or a prime, and say what you did, what was your effort in that work. So once again, it's not the same weight, but it's something. And in the cases like this, I also have the business list their bio on their capability statement. What makes them uniquely qualified to do this work. So you're actually selling yourself. So here's some samples of some past performance. You see how they listed they were the prime, they were the sub, they were the prime. And they stated the contracting officer, the dollar value of the contract. You don't have to necessarily put the contract number in there if you don't feel comfortable with that. If you think somebody's going to sneak around and try to back into that number and figure out how you did that, no one is that ambitious. But this is good past performance here. And this is from a business who wins a lot of contracts. So it's working well for them. Then your differentiators. A lot of people have a problem with this. They keep getting differentiators and core competencies mixed up. So I always tell this story. I have a friend named Jay Herr. He's a SBLO for Electric Boat in Connecticut. And when he would do matches at matchmakers, he would tell a business, I already have 6 businesses who do exactly what you do. What makes you different? What makes you special from the 6 I already have? What would make me want to bring you on? So that is very thought provoking. Just what makes you different from your competition? So differentiators are key. And those buyers already have a lot of businesses in your area of expertise. So what makes you different? Is it longevity? Is it geographic footprint, delivery, quality certs, your staff? The best machines, maybe you just have a brand new CNC machine or a great facility, maybe climate controlled, a billion square foot warehouse. You know you're better than your competition. You know how you're different. You need to show it here. It has to be objective and quantitative. This is not an opinion piece. Everybody says their business is the best. Do not do that. Don't be that business. Prove it. That's what they want to see. They want to see proof. So here's some differentiators. They offer both virtual and on the ground service anywhere in the continental US. That's a differentiator. 24-hour, 7-day a week on call service. Same day turnaround to resolve issues. Pricing 50% lower than industry standards. 95% repeatable business from existing customers annually. That is quantitative and objective. They've made a claim, they've backed it up. So that is an example of differentiators. And there's a lot of different ways to show differentiators. So other key assets, just some things for you to consider. If you're close to the place of performance, does your team have special training such as Lean or Six Sigma? Do you have patents or exclusive rights? How about relationships with partners to allow for more complex procurements? Your years of experience, please do not combine years of experience. I got one the other day, 98 years combined experience. I said, please take that out of there. Just state you have an experienced team. However, you may say the majority of your staff have been with your company for over 10 years. That's legitimate if it's truthful. Also, ITAR, ISO 9000. Do you have a written quality assurance plan? Reduced carbon footprint, disaster recovery plan. That is huge because they all want to know what you're going to do if your business is destroyed and you're in the middle of a service contract. How are you going to complete the work if you no longer have your business? So just think like a buyer. What are they looking for? And each effort is different. Each agency is different. Find out what their hot buttons are. And now CMMC. If you are compliant to either 1, 2, or 3, you're not certified yet because they're not doing it yet. But those levels, it's critical that you let them know that you've worked on that because it's in the reps and certs. So just saying that you are compliant, and you can even throw Project Spectrum out there, compliant and tested by Project Spectrum for level 1 or level 2. So it's definitely something that's noteworthy. And they're going to like to see that. It makes them feel warm and fuzzy about you. So your company data, the size of your firm, your accounting practices. So you might state on here, my accounting practices are DCAA compliant. That is a huge differentiator. And then, of course, adding a brief paragraph of your company history. And they like longevity, and please no long narratives. Keep it simple and to the point. And then any awards you might have won, like maybe you won Manufacturer of the Year, just as long as it's relevant to what it is that they're looking for. Your company data, please say yes to credit cards, because they might get to know you by doing a credit card purchase with you first. That's how they get an introduction to businesses they're not familiar with, or businesses that don't have strong past performance. They'll do simple credit card purchases with you, like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. That's how they get to know you. And also in your company data, of course, your years of business, a summary of your expertise and key individuals. Maybe you have some engineers who are fellows, and that's noteworthy. You might have PhDs. You might be a PhD. You need to brag about these things. Education of your team or your education, special knowledge, skills, technical expertise, and the geographical areas served. Maybe you only work in the state of Virginia. You don't want to go anywhere else, but maybe you work around the world. You want to say that. It is noteworthy. More company data, of course, list your government codes and certifications. Please keep state and federal separate. So state doesn't speak federal, federal doesn't speak state. I have people have a whole laundry list of certifications. It's like alphabet soup of acronyms. That doesn't mean anything to that federal buyer. They don't care about what you have with state. And the state doesn't care what you have with federal. Make sure that they're separate. So that helps them define what's applicable to their needs. Also state your socioeconomic status, if any. Remember, they do not award on socioeconomic status alone. You still must show you are able to successfully do the work. So you also need to show that you're SAM active, which is a pretty big deal now, since SAM has become this quagmire of administrative burden. So if you're not SAM active, make sure you get SAM active. If you're on a GSA schedule, list that. If you have a best in class schedule, make sure you're listing that as well, because that speaks huge volumes. Show that you speak the language of government and that you're savvy to their methods and procedures. So here's an example of some company data. You can see federal is listed separate. Their WSB, EDWSB, and the date they were certified in SBA. They can easily look that up in the dynamic small business search. State of Maryland, this is what they have there. So if you're going after a federal opportunity, you can even take that out. You don't even need to include that. But on your general one, you'll want to list everything. This particular business has certifications with the Washington Metro Area Transit Authority, the Airport Authority, and that's notable because they do a lot of work for them. Their UEI, their CAGE, their corporate office, and another office that they have. So if you have multiple offices, you're going to want to list those addresses and their website. More company data, they particularly have a BIC, which is a best-in-class schedule with the Navy. And they also have Army recruiting management. They have a seaport. They're rocking and rolling. They have a lot going for them. Then their NAICS and their PSC codes. No need to define the NAICS codes. They know what they are. You don't have to define them for them. They know what the NAICS code is that they're looking for. So here's some things to think about. Some more relevant information would be any unique processes or products, size of warehouses if you have multiple locations. Do you have any unique equipment or software? Do you have access to skilled labor to increase capacity if needed? And most important, do you have that disaster plan? If you show them you have a plan to complete the project, if your shop is compromised by a disaster, your documents are stored off-site and your data is stored electronically. So that's a typical disaster plan. Really, it's becoming more and more important now. And if you said no to disaster relief recovery in your SAM, go back and change it and say yes, because that feeds right into FEMA. And if a business is destroyed and again cannot complete their contract, the government goes in and finds somebody who can complete it. And where do they go? The FEMA database. So in SAM, make sure you're saying yes to disaster recovery assistance. So this is something the capability statement is not. A PowerPoint presentation, please do not do that. I've asked for capability statements and people have sent me a PowerPoint. That is not it. More than 2 sides of 1 page. Don't do that either. Not a JPEG or a TIFF file. Don't make it larger than 1 megabyte because it's not getting through anybody's firewall. And it's not a substitute for personal contact. They still want to meet you. They still want to maybe do a capability brief with you. And it's not a resume and it is not a capability brief. So just remember these simple items here. When you're looking at your capability statement and reviewing it or building it, just make sure you're not falling into some of these common mistakes. Other no-nos. Please do not use company logos. 1, it's illegal. 2, it doesn't tell the buyer anything. So I have seen capability statements that they have a laundry list of logos of the people they've done business with. So what does that tell me as a buyer? I don't know what you did. I don't know who you did it for. I don't know what the scope of work was, the dates, or what you were paid. It does not demonstrate capacity. It does not demonstrate capability or responsible and responsiveness. So please, no logos, leave them off. Plus, you're taking up valuable real estate where you could really do a properly formatted past performance that they do understand. Don't write at a level that no one can understand it. Make sure you're handing it to somebody and say, hey, does this make sense to you? Don't include a photo of yourself. They don't care what you look like. That is just taking up more valuable real estate. And never, ever lead with your socioeconomic standing. That comes later. Sell your value first, and then follow up with your socioeconomic standing. So a capability brief, I've mentioned this is the goal. The capability statement is the teaser document. It's giving them a 1,000-mile look at you and what you're capable of. But what you want is that invitation to a capability brief, which you'll take everything that's on your capability statement and blow it up. That's the dog and pony show. Flip charts, PowerPoints. You do it on site. Hopefully you can do it virtually if they're more comfortable with that. It can take up to 2 hours to do one of these. And it can include a lot of valuable team members for that organization or agencies. SBLOs, project managers, engineers, and other stakeholders. So you can always use whatever best shows what you are capable of. Just don't do it when you're at a matchmaker. So when you go to a matchmaker, don't put your laptop up on the table and show them your capability brief. Just hand them your capability statement. Just make sure it's specific to their needs. Don't show them anything else. Just show them what you know they have a need for and show how you can be that problem solver for them and that trusted vendor. So in summary, always lead with your value, not your socioeconomic status. Show you've done the market research and understand their mission, vision, and pain points. Believe me, they will appreciate that and they can tell when you've done your homework. They're impressed by that when people do that. They know that you are somebody that they want to do business with because you've proven to them that you're diligent. Show beyond a shadow of a doubt you're responsible and responsive. And I want you all to Google responsible and responsiveness in government contracting. You'll be so surprised at what you find. And you're going to have multiple versions of your capability statement on hand. Never get caught without your capability statement. So if you go to a matchmaker, take a bundle of capability statements that are your general one, but also have one created just for the people you're sitting down with. So if you have 5 matches, you will have 5 distinct and separate capability statements, one for each one of those matches. Just make sure that you target the agencies and organizations who have a demonstrated need for your good or service, a past history of buying what you provide. Know who they bought from in the past so you're prepared to show how you're different. So if you can do all those points and get those capabilities designed, you're going to see a difference in how you're noticed at events and when you're starting to reach out to those agencies and primes that you're wanting to do business with. So that is all. Now I'll address any questions that weren't handled previously that came in from you, your wonderful audience, and we'll go and we'll answer as many as we can.
Hey, Lisa, thank you. Great presentation, great information. I really appreciate that and enjoyed it. I hope everybody did enjoy it as well. We do have a few questions, so I wanted to get to the questions while we have some time. So, first question, as a commercial photographer, what are your thoughts on including my firm's contact sheet on the back page?
Your friend's contact sheet?
No, firms. Sorry.
Oh, contact sheet.
Yes.
What type of what do you mean contact sheet? I don't follow. Everything
With
that you should put everything on the front of that capability statement. You can put images if you're handing it out on the back of your capability statement, you could put images that you've shot, especially a commercial photographer to demonstrate perhaps construction, aerial photography, small pieces like small little tool and die pieces. But if you're sending it, don't do that. It's going to have be too large data to send through the email. So just keep it to the one page. But your photos are definitely something you would want to bring to the capability brief. But try to keep it to one page front only, unless you're handing it out in person.
Thank you. Can you give examples of how to customize for an agency?
Oh, how to customize to an agency? Yeah, you're going to immerse yourself in that agency. You're going to follow their social media. You're going to go to their website. You're going to research past procurements, who they've bought from, how often they buy, what they buy, when they buy. You are going to know everything about them. So when you create the capability statement for them, it will clearly show your knowledge on them, their mission, their vision, what they're looking for, what they're forecasting, problems they may have had in the past. You really need to demonstrate that because I've been doing this for 14 years and I have done dozens and dozens of matchmakers, and we always survey the buyers, and the buyers always talk about the capability statements that actually speak to them. They do not want to see a general capability statement. That's meaningless to them. It's like, great, you do all this, but what can you do for me? I don't even see anything on here that's interesting to me. So make it relevant to them, make it interesting to them. It doesn't take much to market research an agency or even a prime and find out what's important to them and show how you can fit into their big scheme of things.
Thank you. I want to ask you, Ms. Woods, what do you think about redundancy in your capability statements? Often we see a lot of redundancy. Example, um, SDV or SB logos. And then they list that they are a service disabled veteran owned small business. Or they may say they're a woman owned small business, but they have this multiple times in their capability statements. Do you think this is good practice?
No, you're taking up valuable real estate. No need to say something twice. That person scanning that capability statement, they only need to see it once. So either you're listing it on the capability statement as that fancy little SBA logo that says that your EDWOSB, which takes up a lot of space, or you just do it on a line item like above your certifications or above your NAICS and PSE codes. You could just do the line item like I showed you on the slide. EDWOSB, WOSB, SBA, and the date that you became certified. No need to say it twice. They will see it the first time. So yeah, keep the redundancies off the capability statement.
Thank you. How do you protect yourself from BEC, business email compromise, with a capability statement posted to a public website?
Business email compromise?
Yeah, this sounds risky today.
If you've practiced good cyber hygiene, you shouldn't have that problem.
Got it. All right. Is there? Chat. 1 second. Okay, I got one more question that I see. 25 years of personal professional experience under a former company, newly formed business with socioeconomic standing, but 0 projects to date with this. Do I need to start with the SBO?
So that's a great question. And I've got an example of how to make that work for you. So I had a service disabled veteran, and he worked for an environmental firm for 20 years, and the firm folded. So he started his own business. He was a subject matter expert in environmental remediation, but he had no past performance. So when we did his capability statement, we showed his years with the firm he worked for and everything that he did under the past performance. We also were able to get him his verification through CVE because they will do that. The VA was always great about getting verification without the years in business. And we started putting it out to the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. And they started him out with small credit card purchases. It was a feasibility study for wastewater remediation, and it was only $1,700. And he was so excited, and so was I, because the capability statement worked, it got their attention. And he now is $1 million business for the government doing wastewater remediation and environmental remediation. So they started him out with those small credit card purchases. That's why I tell people, please say yes to credit cards and have the ability to accept a credit card, because that's how they get to know you. And they started trusting him with higher dollar value efforts and more complex efforts. And then pretty soon he was out of the credit card purchases and into bidding on opportunities, because now he had the past performance to show that he's able to do the work and he was a trusted vendor. So it works. You just need to present a compelling argument as to why you are a good choice. You have to sell yourself because you don't have the past performance to sell. You have to show that you can be that trusted vendor, and this is why.
Thank you. Great answer. Great response. Next question. Should I put that I have specific white label products on my capability statement?
White label products. If you have something that's unique, you would put that on as a differentiator. If not everyone carries those products, then it's a differentiator. But only put it on there if it's relevant to the person you're handing that capability statement to. If you're handing it to a prime that it doesn't buy those products, and you're not going to put it on there. You're going to add that to a capability statement after you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that agency or prime actually buys those products.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all the questions I see for now. I would like to let the audience know you will receive a copy of this recording and presentation, as well as the template for the capability statement. So you will receive a copy of that information. If you would like we host the Strategic Outreach and Communication Team hosts a capability statement workshop where we will work with you one-on-one and interact with you by helping you with your capability statement. If you would like for us to send you the link to join one of those 30-minute sessions on Thursday, please put CS in the chat or the Q&A box, and we will send out a link for you to join the capability statement workshop to be able to interact with your peers and also be able to give some tips and recommendations as far as helping you go from good to great. At the end of this presentation, you will see a survey that comes up. Strongly disagree would be your first option. If you strongly disagree, then select that option. But if you don't strongly disagree, I ask that you please take your time and pick strongly agree or agree on one of those other survey responses when you're taking a survey so we can get your continual support. We do take the survey, we do take it seriously to make sure that we're providing good information to you as a small business. So I thank everybody for their attendance today. Is there anything else? Any more questions in the chat or anything, Wendy? If not, then we can end. I could get everybody their time back. Lisa, once again, I want to thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to come in, let us know and teach us about the capability statement and how it can be effectively used. Vaughn, I'd like to thank you again for your assistance as well and getting these good presenters over here to help us and assist us. So I want to thank everybody for attending. I hope everybody have a wonderful day, and until next time, thank you.